Marketing Tip Tea Time, Season 4, right now. Starts today, August 12th. I am in the studio in Greeley, Colorado, and we welcome all of you back to another season of Marketing Tip Tea Time. I can't hardly believe, holy crap, that we made it to Season 4. We hopefully have a great lineup for you the rest of the season. I mean, we have really tried to up our game, really gotten going. TikTok is on fire right now, so if you don't follow us on TikTok, I recommend that you do. We're taking a lot of our longer form that is obviously on Facebook and YouTube. We're cutting it up into clips, and then we are putting it on TikTok. And our most popular video is almost at 250,000 views. So thank you to everybody who works on Marketing Tip Tea Time, all of our guests, all of our producers, all of the companies that work with us. We are very, very, very grateful for all of you. And today we have Rachel Kelly, who her company, Color World, actually just became our second sponsor of the show. So she will be on. But first, I'm going to talk about our first sponsor, Whole Brain Consulting. Is an outsourced operations consultancy that specializes in the consumer products industry, providing solutions catered to your production. Services include QA, QC, supply chain, operations, logistics, R&D, and private equity due diligence. Thank you so much, Whole Brain Consulting. And now, Color World, our newest sponsor. Color World is your one-stop shop for everything anime, from metal bookmarks to teas to hangouts with voice actors. Color World is the place to grab something for yourself or a friend. There's also a book series that you have to check out, written by Rachel Kelly herself, who's on the show today. For more information, go to colorworldlive.com. Thank you so much to our sponsors. And now, drum roll, everyone. Rachel Kelly is the author of the Color World book series and the CEO of Color World. Color World is in the middle of some huge organizational changes, and with that comes a lot of marketing sort of tactics and strategies that have to keep up with their organization. So we are going to talk to her today about all the big ideas coming from Color World. If you've been to an anime anywhere, an anime expo or a Comic-Con anywhere in the US, you've probably run into Color World. And so here she is, Rachel Kelly, CEO, Color World, and author. Woo!
Hey!
There she is. How are you?
I'm pretty good today. Just staying busy.
Yep.
I'm the only one. No, I'm one of two people in the office. Everybody else is out at conventions. So.
Right. And which conventions are we out at this time around?
Oh boy, Anime Houston, Fan Expo Boston. I think that's it. Yeah, those two.
Okay. Cool. Wow. And those are big ones. Those are.
Fan Expo Boston is it's pretty big. Houston is kind of a mid-grade show for us. But we do a lot of convention circuits have like chains, sort of like a franchise almost, where they have multiple shows. Yep. So Anime Houston is one of those. We do I can't remember the company that does them, but we do all of their shows. So.
Wow. Fantastic. Well, before we dive into everything happening at Color World, all of the exciting news coming from you and coming from your book series, just want to say thank you, first of all, for being our second sponsor. And the other thing is, we always, the tea is the most important part of the show, right? Nobody cares about anything else, but the tea is really, really important. This is the second time we've had Rachel on. The first time she was on the show, she was really talking about authorship. This time we're going to be talking more about the CEO role and what that looks like. But first, this tea, we've got orange and spice herbal tea from Bigelow. And I've not tried this one before, so we'll see if I love it.
Do you get like a lot of, like, do people give you feedback? They're like, oh my gosh, I saw this tea on your show and I've now tried it and it's amazing. Like, what's your feedback like on the tea side?
Yeah, actually, we've had both. We've had people who are like, I got that tea and it was amazing, and some were like, wow, that tea sucked. You should never have that tea on the show again. But there are some that are very specialized. So we had one person on the show where they wanted a tea that we could only get in the UK. So we had to figure out how to source that, and that was a very interesting one. And then we've had one tea that I found at a little specialty shop in Denver. And when we used that tea, it actually got popular, and people were calling that shop, wanting it to be shipped around the country. So we get all sorts of mixed reviews with the tea, and I'll go ahead and see this. We've got our orange spice here, putting it in. Bigelow, we're fans of Bigelow. And let's see if the tea cam sort of... And why did you choose this tea? What's the
So last time I picked lemon ginger, and this time is orange spice. So can you tell a theme here? I like citrus.
Citrus, okay.
So citrus and spices, I enjoy citrus. I feel like citrus is the ideal flavor, you know?
And what's so amazing about the citrus? Is it wakes you up
I guess
a little bit?
The acidity a little bit, the sort of like fresh smell, like the clean smell, you know, it's not really like herbs are very like green smelling, whereas citrus is like still alive but a strong flavor also.
Gotcha. All right, I'm gonna take a sip of this. Let's see here.
You shouldn't let it steep very long. You gotta let it steep a little longer.
No, I do. I taste it throughout the show. I know that's one of the comments we get. I let it I taste it right away when it's the watered down version, and then I taste it as it steeps longer, and the flavor profile, you know, really definitely does a full arc there, and so that's one of the reasons I do that. I like to get all the different stages of the flavor. There are some teas that you're supposed to steep for like days, so we haven't had any of those on the show. Hopefully, that'd be sort of hard to do the tea cam with. But so far, I like it. This reminds me of Christmas time, kind of. It has a Christmassy feeling.
I can see that.
Rose, so it's got rose hips, spices, hibiscus, orange peel, roasted chicory, natural orange flavors. Okay, gluten-free. Bigelow.
No, really? It's gluten-free? I had no idea.
Yep, gluten-free. All right, so everyone in the audience, just to let you know, I actually just got back from visiting Color World in Fort Madison, Iowa. The place is beautiful. The architecture is amazing. It's right off the Mississippi. They're building a giant harbor. The place should be popping in a few years. And Color World sort of is getting in on the ground floor of revitalizing this town. So just so everybody knows about Color World, what was the journey of, we talked about last time, you had your whole family in an RV at one point, and now you own multiple buildings and a house in downtown Fort Madison. How do you make this sort of leap in the past few years?
I don't think anybody voluntarily makes that kind of leap. So it was circumstances. So we were doing conventions just kind of like we are now. And then the pandemic happened and all of that was shut down like instantly. It was just like, I remember getting ready. We were purchasing a big order of shirts. We had heard that this pandemic happening and shutting down some shows. And we thought like, well, if we can just make it through this weekend, you know, maybe it'll set us up. We need to have a stack of cash if this is going to happen. So we were kind of like, do we make this big purchase? Do we not make this big purchase of shirts? And we made it. And then like literally like an hour later, it was like, this show has been canceled. And we're like, oh no. So so like pretty much overnight, like everything, all of the avenues that we had to earn money were discontinued. And we had like, I think $4,000 in our account. And so we really quickly pivoted and decided that we were going to make a move on selling our house and using the equity to purchase a house in the Midwest where we knew things were cheaper. So we did. And as we were kind of looking in Missouri, and Iowa was a little further north than we had planned on, but like everything that we had wanted to buy just sold or didn't work out for some reason. And we ended up looking at this house that was kind of on the outskirts of where we wanted to live and realized it was close to Nauvoo, which is important to us religiously. And we're like, oh my gosh, it's a no-brainer. We have to live here. And so we bought it. We saw it. We did like a virtual tour. I drove out to see it. And then we bought it in cash with what we had. Because our house in North Carolina sold in like 48 hours. So
wow,
it was truly miraculous the way that it all came together. And through, honestly, the government programs that happened during that time. So we had SBA loans, There were grants for small businesses to be able to keep people on payroll. So they would pay your business money if you would keep employing people through the pandemic, which we did. And also the EIDL loan, the Economic Income Disaster Loan, are what kept us alive and able to keep moving and take a breath to like change our business model. And we started doing online conventions at that time. So that's how we ended up here in Iowa specifically. It was a matter of like being in a place that was affordable, that we could buy our house outright, because we were like, well, if everything else explodes, at least we have somewhere to live, right? So that was the thinking.
Right. So then, okay, so you're in-person conventions, and then your online sort of conventions. What marketing-wise, messaging-wise, organizationally, what does that sort of a pivot look like? What's the infrastructure you need? What do you need to think about?
Well, I would say that really what is important when it comes to being able to pivot is you don't just suddenly pivot. You don't suddenly do online conventions out of like nothing. We had built relationships over the years with different voice actors, so different famous people, and that allowed us to ask our friends like, hey, what do you think about doing online conventions? And they're like, oh my gosh, I would totally do that. Because they were out an income as well. And so if we hadn't had those relationships ahead of time, I don't know that we could have gone into the virtual scene so quickly and easily. And that was simply a matter of maintaining relationships. You know, like we didn't have any designs to really make money off of these people. We did a few wholesale deals of metal prints for them, but for the most part, they were just our friends, like people that we knew from around the country. And so that preparation is what allowed us to, you know, by contrast, you know, moving to Iowa was not just something we suddenly decided to do. It was something we'd been thinking about for a really long time, relocating ourselves to an area of the country that was more affordable. And it was really just the pandemic that pushed us in that direction. So we already had things in place that allowed us to make that pivot. So I think that when you're talking about business, like always having an eye on other options will make it so that when like crap hits the fan, you have options to do something different. You know, you can pivot.
Right. Yeah, exactly. One quick note, this tea is getting deeper as it steeps. It's really nice. And thank you to Kirk Vogel, who commented. He said that Tea Forte is amazing, which is a tea that we had on first with Soon-Hee Newbold, a famous composer and actress. So thank you, Kirk. And he was also my, I say this every time, but he's on here every time, and I got to give him a shout out, my middle school choir director. So.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
Yep. So you were talking about maintaining relationships was huge in your strategy for going into the pandemic, and still today that is sort of the name of the game. How do you successfully maintain so many relationships with so many famous people and then your own employees? What does that sort of look like?
So it's more like, you know, we see them at conventions, so we stop by and say, hey, even if it's only for like just this past weekend, I was at a convention, and John Swayze is probably one of my best, like the closest to me voice actors that we know. And, you know, I had sent him a text and said, hey, John, I'm going to be at this convention. Is there anything you need me to bring for you? And he's like, oh, no, I'm good. I already placed an order for this, blah, blah, blah. And then he was like, oh, are you bringing Eov? And I was like, yes, I am. He's like, I love that kid. So my kids actually have had quite a role, especially Eov, in the relationships, because he's so like social and talkative, and he almost maintains that relationship for me, because people are like, I love those. Everybody knows those Kelly kids running around the convention. So
nice.
I don't know, just in passing, it was never like an official, like, let's officially stay connected. It's just like you see this person, and so you talk to them. Now employees that's a totally different kind of relationship. All of our employees have come, like, it's not something that we put out on the internet to interview for a job. These are all people that have known us through the years. Like, they saw one that just came on full time, her and her husband, like in the last month. She bought my book series from me, probably convention number 2, I want to say.
Okay.
She runs up to the table. She's like, "What is this book about?" And and I told her, and she's like, "I'll take the whole thing, and I'll pre-order the next book." And she bought it and was a huge fan of the book series and stayed connected with us. You know, we would have people come in and do conventions with us. I mean, you've seen that happen before. We're like, "Hey, we're going to be in your area. Do you want to like come do this convention with us?" And usually people are like, "Oh yeah, I've always wanted to do that," or "I've always wanted to go to conventions." So just different people that have worked with us around the country that we've met, and we've just sort of like remained friends with them over the years. And then I guess we kind of endeared them to us, and then they're like, then we offer them a job, and then they move out here because they realize how cheap it is.
It is. I can verify Fort Madison is one of the cheaper places I've seen. Definitely.
Yeah.
And you know, I've been to some stuff with Color World now, and this sort of anime conventions, pop culture, it's all about community building, it seems like. Like, there's just a big group of people who are a community, essentially. I mean, when I go to conventions, it seems like it's an excuse almost for everybody to hang out. Like, the convention's the excuse for everybody to come and get together and hang out. And so do you have any stories, or how do you sort of tap into that tight-knit community of these specific conventions? Especially anime conventions, I've seen, are just totally community-oriented. How do you sort of foster that and become part of that, where Color World's now known for being at all these conventions and doing all of this with everyone?
So we realized really quickly when we started doing conventions what was so special about them. Like, I think people look at these comic and anime conventions who've never been, and they're like, those are for a bunch of nerds or a bunch of geeks or whatever. But it's exactly what you're saying, where it's this community. I always used to say conventions are the one place that people can be themselves, like for real. Mm-hmm. And that's really special. Like, you don't see that really anywhere else. And not only can you be yourself, but you go there and other people are being themselves too. And then you realize that you're like this other person. You know, it could be like this old guy who goes fishing on the weekends who's into anime, and like this mom of 4 kids who secretly watches anime and nobody knows, like, you know. Right. And then like 2 very unlikely people, you know, meeting each other and being like, "Oh my gosh, you like this stuff too." And so I would say that for us, at conventions, we really try to interact with people and also legitimately like the stuff that they like. So, you know, we watch the animes that they watch, and we're not so much into the gaming, but we have employees that are. So Autumn really likes gaming, and Jeff really likes gaming, and Sam and David really like gaming.
So you do your research. And so you do a lot of research.
Yeah. Like we know this stuff. Like, I was just training somebody earlier today because we were tallying up royalties for different art pieces that we have, and I was just like, man, I can't believe I know all of these things, these animes, these games. Like, I know them, all of these pieces of art, like off the top of my head. And
yeah, that's amazing.
That's really from just interacting with people. Like, someone asks you do you have any Spy Family? You know, I'm like, what is this Spy Family thing? And so then you look it up and you find out what's it about. I will be the first to admit, though, of everybody, I probably like anime the least. It's not that I don't like anime, but in general, I'm not like a media watcher. Like, I don't I don't watch TV that much. So, but I do try to do my homework and kind of understand why people like stuff. So people ask for Death Note is one of the animes I've watched all the way through. I watched all of Death Note. You know, people liked One Piece. I just watched episodes throughout all of the 85 seasons that they have of One Piece, so that when people talk to me, I have something to talk about. So we really try to like. Right. I've had people test me too, which is really cool. It's always like dirt off, when someone asks you, well, what's your favorite anime? And then I can tell them, and then I can tell them why. And they weren't expecting me to like know those things, because a lot of the vendors at conventions, they like sit there in a chair. They don't really know what they're selling. They just know this thing sells and they want to make money off of it. But we like legitimately are part of the community, I think. I had someone the last convention I was at who I was talking about how we were getting out of the convention business. And he was just like, man, I am really surprised by that. You guys are like a staple in the community. Like, I'm just like, he was just like, so I can't believe you're doing that. That's so weird. Like, unexpected. So just being part of the community, liking what they like. You got to like what you sell. You have to. I don't exactly. So when you don't even care about the thing that you sell.
Right. No, that makes perfect sense. Essentially, you've got to be part of the community that you are selling to. You can't be a poser, I guess. Going in thinking, oh, I'm going to schling all this stuff that I don't know what it is. And that I think that really does bring people to your booth. And you said something very interesting, that you're getting out of conventions. So tell us what's next. So that is part of your plan, but you're known for that. What's the thought process behind that, and where are you headed?
So we're going to take that community and we're going to put it in a 4-story building. We bought a 4-story building in downtown Fort Madison, and we're going to renovate it level by level. And the first level is going to be a restaurant that will kind of feature all of the food that we've encountered around the country. We're kind of connoisseurs of good food, so we know what tastes good and we know what we want to have. And we also know like what kind of ambiance people like, because we've been to so many restaurants. And then, the next level, we're going to do the more community-based, where it's like tabletop gaming and virtual reality and all of those kind of things. And we'll carry merchandise, probably on both levels of the merchandise that we sell at conventions right now. And then third and fourth levels will be laser tag. I know for sure we're going to try to do like laser tag at night, children's museum during the day type thing. But that upper level, like the further up you go, the like further in the future it is. So we're just going to try to develop each one. And then, eventually we'll have this kind of, I guess it's called the bubble. That's the name of it. And then each individual part will be called something different. But we're going to try to create a hub that people go to. And Fort Madison in the past has been a tourist spot on the Mississippi for like cruise ships and things. And so with the marina being built, we're going to try to put some retail in the marina shops that they have there too. So we're really going to try to make what we have at conventions accessible to people like here and like, within 100, 200 mile radius to come to.
So what's the population of Fort Madison approximately?
It's somewhere between 10 and 15,000.
Okay. So what's your marketing sort of plan to siphon these tourists from the boat?
Well, so I would say that, what we've gotten the most excitement from people, because we talk to people all the time in town about this thing that we're doing. So the first thing is that the building that we bought has a history in the community. It was a sports bar before we bought it, and everybody knew it, and everybody like remembers it. In the last 20 years, they've all been to it. They used to have live bands play, and they had a beer garden and all this stuff. But we're going to make it completely family friendly. And so many people that we've encountered who we've like told about this, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. There's going to be a place that you can bring your kids. And I think Brad says we're going to create a place like, it's going to be as good as Sidelines, which is what it was called before, but you can bring your kids to it. And so that's going to be our angle. And a lot of people are really hurting for good restaurants here because we just don't have much of a selection. It's kind of bizarre, actually, how little there is in the way of restaurants. So at least in my opinion, it's going to be a slam dunk as far as the restaurant's concerned.
Nice. That is really exciting. That is really exciting. And, what's going on with your books, your new audiobook that's supposed to be coming out eventually?
Oh, that's been kind of pushed to the back burner for now, just because we have so many projects and not enough time. It is coming.
Yeah.
I can vouch that it is going to come. It is going to happen. Each book is going to get an audiobook. I just had the director email me the other day, or I guess he's not the director, he's the sound designer. And he's like, hey, I'm just letting you know what my schedule is coming up, if you need me to fit in time for you. So he's waiting for the project to happen. And then the other thing that we've had trouble with is scheduling the actors. So with conventions, it's like peak convention season right now. And so they're all traveling. And so it's just been really hard to coordinate that with them, to be able to get the audiobook actually recorded. It's
right.
I'm trying to think. The next book is really big. So that's 12, 13, 14 hours of recording.
Holy cow.
A lot.
So how do you, what's sort of the difference between, I guess, the reach of your audiobooks versus your print books? What's the thought behind having both of them being released, but the audiobooks are usually a little bit behind the...
So, that thing I was talking about in the beginning about, preparing, right? You do things that aren't necessarily going to get you something right now, because in the future, when you need that thing, you're going to have it available. So that's kind of our mentality with the audiobooks, is that, okay, we sell audiobooks. We do get royalties every month. It's not huge, but at some point, when there's demand, the demand is there, it will already be available. That's kind of why we've put so much into the quality of it, that we haven't just hired some actor off the street to record these audiobooks, but we've hired good actors. We've made something that we enjoy. I don't even like audiobooks, but I love my audiobook just because it has so many different actors. It's such an experience.
Right. That's great.
Yeah. So, if I was going to do an audiobook, I wanted to create one that I would like to listen to. And so that's kind of how we've gone about everything. Is don't sell things that you don't want to sell. Don't create audiobooks that you don't want to listen to. Don't write books that you don't want to read. So that's what we've done with the books and the audiobooks. We've made a lot of investments over time. And at least I'm a firm believer and have witnessed the fact that if you put in those things, you build those relationships with voice actors, or you have Zillow open on your computer all the time with houses in the Midwest that are cheap, the time to act on it will come, and you'll be ready. You'll be prepared to seize the opportunity.
So you're saying be prepared so that when the opportunity comes along, you can execute with speed. You already know what you need to do. Okay, and there's no downtime.
Exactly. I mean, nobody has time for that, especially when the world explodes because of a pandemic. It's you can all look at each other and freak out, or we can we're going to do this. We're going to make this happen.
Exactly.
Basically how we've gone about it.
So speed is key in that. And in order to be fast, you have to prepare. That's what it sounds like. Yes,
you do. 100%. That is the moral of the story. Brett says, okay, were you in Boy Scouts?
I was, yeah.
Ever?
Yeah, I'm an Eagle Scout, actually,
Is that song, so Brad Swears' song, be prepared, the motto of the Boy Scouts, is an actual official Boy Scout song, but I've never been able to find that anywhere.
It's not. That is not.
I think he's made it up. Okay.
I think he might have. Yeah, that's definitely not official. I mean, maybe a few troops picked it up somewhere and ran with it. I've never heard that song.
I don't know.
So I don't.
But that is our motto. Be prepared, be prepared. So that's what we try to do.
Wow, fantastic. Well, Rachel, thank you once again for being a sponsor and for being the first, what are those things called? Somebody tell me. The guest. There we go. Nobody's whispering in my ear. Guest. I forgot the word. The first guest of season 4. And we're just so thankful and grateful to have you as a connection and to be able to work with you on projects and to bring you in for Tip Tea Time. I think that everybody's getting a lot of great information out of this. Thank you upstairs to our technical producer, Josh, and then to Bike Shop Agency and Phil for helping us get all the equipment set up and everything. Thank you to Peter Romero, our graphics supervisor and our music supervisor. And thank you to everyone who's going to be on this season of Marketing Tip Tea Time. We have some fantastic people, maybe some really, really high-level CEOs, CMOs, voice actors. We've got it all, and we're going to see you in 2 weeks. Remember, this is on a Friday every 2 weeks during the season, and we will see you in 2 weeks. And until then, thank you, Rachel. Thank you, everyone. Na zdraví. Cheers.